Hello.
Where do you want me to go with this?
Hi, I'm Dr. Carla, and this is my partner Nick, and this is Whiz in Agriculture, the program that's going to show you that agriculture is more than slopping hogs and planting potatoes. It's a business and industry that affects every single one of us every day.
I always thought agriculture meant mostly food, like what I've got here, like an apple, a tangerine, a coconut. But did you know this is also a product of agriculture?
And so is this.
And this. Hello.
And this too.
And all this. Soap, toothpaste, vitamins, shampoo. Gee whiz.
Nick, this is a really strange collection. We've got a baseball bat, we've got telephones, football helmets, newspapers, soap, shampoo, and we know they're all agricultural products, but you know they have something else in common too.
What could a telephone and toothpaste have in common? Well, unless you're gonna talk on the phone and brush your teeth at the same time, yuck.
Well, you need another clue. They also have something in common with this apple and grapefruit and nuts that are over here.
Whoa. A telephone, a banana, toothpaste? I'm sorry, I just don't see the connection.
Oh, Nick, sure you do. Where do the apple and the banana and the walnuts all come from?
Well, they all grow on trees.
Right, you got it. That's exactly right. Every bit of this stuff is a tree product.
Okay, I know that this baseball bat is made out of wood, and wood comes from trees, but I want to hear more about this toothpaste and all that other stuff.
Well, actually, there are 2,500 different products that come from trees. Mm-hmm. And these are just a few of them. Just wait and see this list. Bats, bags and boxes,
Dyes, drapes, and drugs.
sugar, shampoo and shoe polish,
Cement, ceramics, syrup,
tissues and tea,
crayons, cosmetics,
paints and picnic tables,
flavorings, phones, and football helmets,
floors, furniture, pharmaceuticals.
golf clubs, candles, crayons.
You already said that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Chewing gum,
Rayon, rubber, and rocket fuel.
and we didn't even mention fruits and nuts and lumber for buildings and all those other things. And you can see we've barely even gotten started on that list of 2,500 products from trees.
If I took a pencil and paper and an eraser and sat in a chair at a desk, I wonder how long it would take me to come up with 2,500 products made from wood and trees.
You've already got a head start on it, Nick, because all of those things you mentioned, the desk, the chair, the paper, the eraser, are all tree products.
Wow, there's another one. Paper, it's made from trees. Football helmets, telephones, rocket fuel. There's a lot of questions I want to ask, and I bet the Gee Whiz kids have a lot more. Let's find out.
Gee Whiz Kids! Gee Whiz Kids! Gee Whiz Kids want to know!
What kind of tree do you use to make a telephone? What is hardwood? What is softwood? What's the difference? How many trees does it take to make a forest? What's a rainforest?
What's the difference between deciduous and coniferous?
Huh? What's deciduous? What's coniferous? If trees are agriculture, are there tree farms? How about apple tree farms? Coconut farms?
Banana farms?
Can you build a house out of banana wood?
How much wood will a woodchuck chuck build? Woodchuck could chuck wood.
Would a woodchuck chuck banana wood?
What kind of wood do you use to make a golf club? Rocket fuel? I don't believe it. What is charcoal? Rocket fuel?
Gee Whiz!
Good questions, especially ones about tree farms and confirnious and deciduous trees.
No.
I
Pine
screwed it.
cones. Coniferous.
Coniferous. Okay, maybe we should start by finding out where the trees are. Like, where do you go to see a forest? And where do you go to see a tree farm?
Well, we learned in our program about cattle that basically cattle are in countries that have big, wide open grassy areas. And we know those are not good areas for forests. So let's take a look at this world map. And where do you think those areas of the world would be? Well, there's different kinds of wood from different countries and different major forests. The biggest forests in the world really are in the area of Eurasia, especially Russia, where there are a lot of softwoods, and then down here in South America, a lot of exotic hardwoods down there. Southern Africa has a lot of those exotic hardwoods like teak as well, and then of course the United States and Canada have both hardwood and softwood forests. In the United States, really 30% of the world's forests are in the U.S., and the largest forest-producing areas are in the Pacific Northwest. Those would be the states of Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and Montana, which have mostly softwood trees, and then in the Deep South, Georgia, Alabama, North and South Carolina, Mississippi, and Florida. A lot of softwoods down there as well. And then the Northeast and Great Lakes states have a lot of the hardwoods. So it's really important to know exactly where the forests are and where trees grow.
5. The slices. My list of wood products is getting longer and longer. It's easy to see that we use things made from wood and trees every day, starting with paper, pencils, chairs, and desks at school. But we still need to answer some of those questions about hardwoods, softwoods, and woodchucks. And that means it's time to go where the trees are. And that's where Saida is today.
Thanks, Nick. Baseball bats, pencils, erasers, paper, only a few of the 2,500 things that come from trees. And this is where trees come from. This is a forest, and it's in Kentucky, and it's part of a really huge forest that grows in the southeast United States. Now, in this forest, there are hardwood trees and softwood trees, but there's something else that is very important in keeping the forest healthy and valuable, and that is tree experts. This is Dr. Don Graves and Dr. Doug McLaren. The name of today's show is Would You Take Care of Me? And that's kind of what these fellows do, or at least they take care of the trees that help keep the forest beautiful. Now, what do tree experts do to keep the forest here?
Well, what one of our jobs is to keep it productive and healthy. And growing trees is a lot like growing any other crop. You've probably helped your mom or dad or grandparents in a garden. And the first thing that they ask you to do is to go out there and weed. Remove those things that you don't need in the forest. And that's what we do in a lot of cases, remove trees we don't need. In a lot of cases in the forest, we have too many trees per acre. And one of the ways that we can measure this is by taking an increment bore. And what I'd like to do is to show everyone how we can do that. This is an increment bore, and it doesn't really harm the tree if you do it properly. But what we're going to do is measure the health of this forest. What we need to do is take a small sample of the growth for the past few years in this tree. We're going to slip this in here and turn this, and we're going to extract a core. And what this tells us is how the tree has been growing for the past few years. And on here you can actually see the growth.
So what does the growth of this tree or the rings mean?
Very good question. You see that we've taken this core out, but I have another sample here that probably is a little more visible. You'll notice on this particular tree that here's where it started to grow in the very beginning, and you can see that the growth rings are relatively wide, but then when we get out at this particular point or area out here, they're much closer together. This is where your mother or father or grandparents ask you to go out and weed the garden. And that is, the weeds have started to come over to take up moisture and soil and sunlight. And the trees are, if this is our crop tree, the one that we bored, and we want it to go to final crop, then what we want to do is remove trees from around it.
Was this forest planted by humans, or did it just spring up on its own?
Good question. But all you have to do is look around here and you'll find out that all of these trees are not planted in a row, and that means to a forester that it was naturally regenerated.
Forests cover about 1/3 of the United States and are the nation's greatest renewable natural resources. People that grow and harvest this great crop are committed to good land stewardship and perpetuation of healthy forests. Trees are a huge part of the Earth's ecologically closed system, with an average 100-foot tree absorbing about 8,000 pounds of carbon dioxide and generating about 6,000 pounds of oxygen each year. On the average, the people and companies who own and manage America's privately owned forests plant 6 million trees a day. That's more trees than people in the states of Kentucky, Montana, and Nebraska combined. Because of this large-scale replanting effort, the United States actually grows more trees than it loses every year to harvest, insects, and disease. Over 93 million acres of forest land are owned by companies and individuals who belong to the American Tree Farm System. These certified tree farms, designated by these signs, are professionally managed to provide timber in combination with wildlife preservation, recreation, and other forest uses. Environmental awareness is evident throughout the forest products industry. Today, we have 20% more trees than we did 20 years ago, which is really amazing since we actually use more wood and paper products today. By planting trees and reseeding, we can be assured of a continuous supply of lumber, wood, and paper products for many years to come. This strong environmental commitment guarantees Americans will have clean water, a home for wildlife, recreation opportunities, and the beauty forests provide for many generations to come.
What are you doing here, Dr. Gray?
I was measuring this tree to see what size it might be. We use these to see how big around they are and how tall they are, and measure them after we cut them down when we do.
Well, if 2,500 products are made from wood, then what you do here must be important to a lot of people and a lot of businesses.
Usually the loggers come in and cut the trees down, and then they go to a sawmill where they're broken down into the parts that the different companies want. And they may ship that out as lumber just the way it is, or they may make it into a particular piece of wood that a furniture company may want to use. It may go to a place...
The forestry industry employs more than 1.6 million people and produces wood and paper products valued at more than $200 billion each year. This industry ranges from small family-owned sawmills to state-of-the-art paper mills, also including more than 7 million individual woodlot owners. The ways trees are harvested will shape the new forest that will replace them. On the average, it takes about 50 years for a tree to be big enough to harvest. Forests can be managed to provide an even-age stand for harvest, then clear-cut to remove the mature timber. This allows the seedlings and new crop to reestablish and is desirable for tree species that do best with a lot of sunlight. Uneven-aged management means the forest will have trees of a variety of ages. Trees are individually selected as they mature for harvest. Trees that like more shade do best in this system. The harvest of trees is a pretty amazing process, involving the cutting, timber, and logging operations to remove the trees. Those big trees sure are heavy and pretty hard to maneuver. Trees can become saw timbers if they are big enough to produce logs for lumber production. These smaller trees will become wood pulp to make paper, fiberboard, or other products. Arrival at the sawmills is the next step. Products made directly from trees include chips, pulp, paper products, logs and large timber, plywood, lumber, and veneer. The United States and Canada are blessed with a wide variety of valuable native woods, from walnuts, cherries, and oaks for furniture and paneling, to durability woods like redwood, cedar, and cypress, and versatility timbers like spruce, pine, and Douglas fir. Paper and pulp products are made from a variety of both hardwoods and softwoods. The productivity of our forests benefits man by the wood harvest it provides. But think of everything trees provide. They protect the nation's topsoil, produce oxygen, filter air pollution, are home to many birds and wildlife, give us recreation and beauty. No wonder we ask, would you take care of me?
So what is the difference between softwood trees and hardwood trees?
Well, they are distinctly different types of trees in the forest, and a conifer tree is a softer wood, and those types of trees grow in the southern part of the United States as well as in the western part. And these are the trees that have typically have been used to build homes with, the structural part of the homes. A hardwood tree is such as an oak tree. This is the type of wood that you use on the interior of your homes. It's the type of wood that you find in a lot of restaurants that they make the salad bars out of and the chairs and such.
So what are the main kinds of trees that are hardwood or softwood?
Well, here in Kentucky we grow a lot of hardwoods. You have hickories, and you have oaks, and you have yellow poplars. Those are some of your more notable trees that a lot of people know about. And in your conifers, you're talking about pine trees. Those are the softwood you spoke of.
So the next time you see one of these, you can say, gee whiz, that's a properly managed forestry operation.
So what might just look like a bunch of trees is actually a pretty complicated system.
Oh yeah, a system that involves Mother Nature, tree experts, even business. Because when you talk about making furniture and paper and lumber, we've got all that to worry about. And we also have a whole group of business and people that are involved in making sure there always will be a forest also.
It looks like it would be fun to work in forestry, to be outdoors a lot. How do you get to be a forestry expert?
Well, you can actually go to college and major in forestry, and there's a whole list of courses I've got right here, being a college professor, that you have to take, like calculus and chemistry and plant biology and physics and economics and soil science and just all these kinds of things. And then there's all kinds of careers.
Like treeology?
Oh, things like careers, okay? Yes, about tree identification, that kind of stuff too. Just a regular forester. And we had another list here: soil scientists, landscape architecture, tree service managers, government planners, teachers, professors, communication specialists, public administrators, forest geneticists, surveyor, ecologist, urban forestry, wildlife management, recreation management, and the list goes on and on and on.
So there's just about as many careers in forestry as there are tree products. Whew.
Right, and Saeed is going to show us what a tree farm's like right now.
You may not have thought about it, but within the last year, you probably brought a tree that was grown on the tree farm. A Christmas tree. Many Christmas trees are grown on farms that grow nothing but Christmas trees. Today, as you can see, we're on a tree farm that grows Christmas trees. And we're also visiting forester Jim Hurst and his son Alan. Hello, how are you doing today?
How are you today?
What is your basic steps in planting a Christmas tree farm or just any tree farm?
Well, first we have to lay out our plantation, determine what we're going to plant, where we're going to plant it, how we're going to sell our trees, whether they're going to be wholesale or cut your own. Here we let people come out and cut their own trees. We also sell wholesale trees. We sell mostly Scotch and white pines.
Well, would you please take me on a small tour of your tree farm here?
We'd love to.
So when do you usually cut your trees? Like, what's a good time to cut them, good age?
When they're 5 to 8 years old, depending on how big you want your tree. This field we're in here is a field that most of the trees in here, the larger trees, are probably 7 years old, such as this white pine here beside you. This is a 2-year-old seedling right here that was planted where another tree had been cut last year.
Oh, and do you ever have any problems with pests around?
Yes, we do. We have some trouble with deer and rabbits and some insects.
Well, what's your biggest job on the farm?
Well, the biggest job is probably shearing the trees. That's how we shape the trees, just like that, to give it the pretty shape. And there's other jobs. You have to mow, and you have to plant the trees, and the most fun of the jobs is probably when people come up for Christmas time to get their tree. It's fun to watch people just cut down their own tree and have the smiles on their faces.
Oh, so it's not actually this shape. I mean, when it grows, it's wilder.
Right.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. Would you like to show me any of the pests or where deers are
Sure,
gotten?
we'd be glad to.
Okay. So what are some of the biggest insects that cause problems around here?
Bagworms and sawflies seem to be our biggest problem. Here's a tree here. You can see this bagworm on it right here. Now, we sprayed this to kill the bagworms before they did any damage.
What damage do they do to the tree?
Well, they can eat the needles off of it and actually kill the tree. I'll show you a tree over here that the sawflies ate it and really did a lot of damage. This is the tree I was telling you about, and you can see that the sawflies have eaten all the needles off of this tree. It's not a very pretty Christmas tree right now. Sawflies are little worms that get on here in the summertime, and all they do is just eat.
Are there any other things besides insects that really mess up your crops?
Well, there's deer are quite a problem here. Let's walk up here and let me show you where we've got some deer damage. As you can see from right there, the old buck came in here in the fall of the year, and that's where he cleans his velvet off of his antlers, and it obviously isn't going to make a very nice Christmas tree.
Yes. Well, what are the type of trees you grow most around here?
Well, the most trees we grow is Scotch pine, and then we grow white pine, and we grow blue spruce.
Of course, Christmas trees aren't the only way we use farm trees. Next, we'll be taking another look at how farm trees are used. I shall never see a poem as lovely as a tree. When Joyce Kilmer wrote this poem, he was thinking about how trees are used for birds and shade and other things. But as we found out today, trees are used for a lot more than that. And add this to your list, Nick. Guitars are made from wood.
That's right, guitars, violins, and even reeds from clarinets and saxophones.
Slow down. I'm still working on this list.
Oh, we're going to have a real big list before this is over, even if you just write down all the things we've seen today, like Christmas trees.
And floors and doors.
And cabinets and boards.
And football helmets and medicines.
And we learned about people who managed forest and even met people who worked with trees and wood.
And we visited a tree farm.
And we learned what a symbol for a tree farm looks like.
And I'll never look at a forest again without thinking of all the products made from wooden trees and all the things we can do with wooden trees.
And actually, wood is really important to sports stars, too, because without wood, we wouldn't have baseball bats or wooden golf clubs or wooden hockey sticks. And I believe Saeed has got something else to say on that subject.
This is the Hilarick and Brasby plant, and it's in Louisville, Kentucky. This is where they make the Louisville Slugger baseball bat. They also make golf clubs here. So where does most of the wood come from that you use?
The wood for our baseball bats is northern white ash, and it comes from the states of Pennsylvania and New York. The wood for our golf clubs, for our wood golf clubs, is persimmon wood. Most of that comes from the Mississippi River Delta country, which is down around Mississippi and Arkansas and Tennessee, where it's very swampy and very wet. We do buy some persimmon trees in Kentucky and some of the neighboring states. And then we make hockey sticks in Canada, but we also use northern white ash wood, so the wood that we grow and buy in Pennsylvania and New York is used in Canada also.
Is the wood you use mostly hardwood or softwood?
Well, the northern white ash is mainly hardwood, but it's easy to work with. Many years ago, a lot of ball players use hickory, which is very hard and it's very heavy. But today, northern white ash is probably the best wood for baseball bats. This is what we call the stages of production of a wood bat. And on the very far left, you see what we call a split, which was taken from a northern white ash tree, which came from Pennsylvania or New York. And then if you follow on to the right progressively on down the line, you see the various stages that this chunk of wood goes through. At the very end, on the far right, you see the finished Louisville Slugger baseball bat.
What are the main players and teams that use the products you make here?
All the 28 major league teams use our bats, and there are about 150 minor league teams. Like Louisville has a minor league team called the Louisville Redbirds. They use our bats. I would say probably 60 to 70% of all the major league players use Louisville Slugger baseball bats. In golf, we have a lot of professional golfers on the tour use our golf clubs. There are 20 million people who play golf in this country. Softball players use our bats. There are like 50 million people who play softball. We make ice hockey sticks, so we have players in the National Hockey League who use our sticks, as well as boys and girls who play hockey on their own. I would like to invite all the boys and girls, if they're ever in Louisville, to come by our plant. It's called Slugger Park, and they can come in for free, and they can get a free tour and see how baseball bats are made and golf clubs are made.
So the real reason that Barry Bonds hit 45 home runs is because someone in Pennsylvania is taking care of ash trees. Another way that trees help us if we take care of trees. Gee whiz!
Gee whiz, that's all for today. And we need to thank our guests like Don Graves.
And Doug McLaren.
And Jim Hurst and his son at the tree farm.
And the Gee Whiz kids.
And Bill Williams at H&B and everybody else who helped us out with Gee Whiz. Because without them, it wouldn't be Gee Whiz in Agriculture.